Hello, new school comic book reviews. Okay, so the first comic book I have, let's try Hawkeye Annual #1, written by Matt Fraction and the art is by Javier Polito. I think that's how you say his name. And the colors are by Matt Hollingsworth. It's a pretty fun story. No great shakes, no earth-shattering reveals or anything like that. Basically, this issue features Kate Bishop, the girl Hawkeye. She has a falling out with Clint Barton, so she goes back to the West Coast to see if she can borrow money from her rich dad. And while she's there, she runs into Madame Mask, and it's basically just kind of a lighthearted, fun romp. Um, well paced, well written. I like the characterizations. I like the whole handling of Kate and everything like that. Javier's art is pretty simple, but it has a real appeal and charm to it, I think. The only thing is, I wish in few places the art was just a little bit tighter, a little less sketchy, and I also think he kind of uses the visual motif of the people standing around in silhouette. I think it's a little bit overused, but for the most part, I liked it. Um, like I said, nothing earth-shattering, but a pretty solid issue. Next, Uncanny Avengers #10. Um, let's see here. I don't know how I feel about this comic. I think it's like improved since the first arc. First few issues, I was a little bit underwhelmed, but I think it's gotten better and better. But at this point, I'm like, eh. Well, I'm on the fence about whether or not I should continue or not. Basically, this issue has a lot of stuff that I normally like in a super team comic. You've got action, you've got adventure, you've got the plot moving along, you've got some really interesting character interactions. Basically, the Apocalypse Twins have resurrected some dead enemies of the heroes, and there's various excuse me, various fights and confrontations and whatnot. Really, really nice art. I think the story was well paced. The only thing is, overall, with the story, how the storyline's been going from issue one until now, it's just kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's lots of cool, fun ideas, but it's lacking something. And one thing I say, some of the kind of character interactions, while I don't think the characters are mischaracterized, I think that there's maybe a little bit more conflict than there needs to be. It seems a little bit more forced than it should be. And I get it. I get because they've had, AVX and there's this and there's that and blah, 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 blah. Um, Marvel really wants to keep it going. Marvel wants to keep that conflict going. I think they're really trying to milk it. And so I get that. But on the other hand, sometimes it feels maybe there's a little bit more arguing and more conflict that really needs to be there as far as the characters are concerned. But but anyway, as far as this particular issue is concerned, I really like it. It's fun, action paced, great art. So that's that. New Avengers #8, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Mike Deodato, and the colorist is Frank Martin. This is Prelude to Infinity, the big event that's coming up. Basically, it's really not big on plot moving forward. It seems there's a lot of setup, and it's basically the characters standing around talking to each other, worried about what's going to happen. Reed and Tony Stark have a conversation. Black Bolt and Medusa have a conversation after Maximus the Mad has built this machine for Black Bolt. We don't really know what he's built it for, what it's supposed to do, but we know it's going to be bad. And the Submariner makes some sort of proposition to the Black Swan. Then he has a conversation with T'Challa, and T'Challa insists, hey, because you attacked Wakanda, you know what? There's going to be war between our two kingdoms, and that's that. And it basically ends with a big invasion. So that's that. And like I said, we get the setup to the big event that's coming up. Um, okay issue. Like I said, it's all set up. So not a lot of meat on this particular comic story wise, but it wasn't bad. One thing I'll say about Mike Deodato's art, I did not read a lot of Marvel comics back in the 90s, but I have seen some of the stuff that well, I should say DC Comics because Mike Deodato's doing Wonder Woman. But the stuff I have seen of his from that time period, a lot of it's very image inspired. Very influenced by like Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and that whole scene. But he has come a long way from those days until now. And I find his art very intriguing. I don't know exactly who I compare it to. I see a little bit of the Kubert brothers in there, and Joe Kubert. I see a bit of like Gene Colan in there. The heavy use of shadows and shade. Yet at the same time, the characters are all very stylized and posed and things. But a lot of times it works for me. So yeah, interesting. All right. Next. Let's see here. Let's do Young Avengers number 8, written by Kieran Gillen and art by McKelvey and Norton. And yeah, I'm at a weird spot with this comic book because I find myself respecting it more than I enjoy it. You know what I mean? It's more like I can see where they're going with it. I can see what they're trying to do, and I like that they're at least trying to do it. I like that they try to give this comic a unique style, a unique voice. I like the attitude. I like the energy that comes off of it. I like that they're trying to do a different take on the young teenage superheroes and things. um, but it just lacks a certain something for me. I don't know what. In this particular issue, they're continuing their trans dimensional adventure or whatever, and weird stuff happens, and they fight some weird beasties, and they go here and they go there. They've been joined by Prodigy, and it looks like they're chasing some guy who looks like Patriot but probably isn't, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know. The plot's interesting, the dialogue's decent, the art is good, but it just lacks a certain something for me, and I just don't know what. I'm probably gonna give it a few more issues. I might finish out the arc, but I may drop this comic. It's like I like this comic, but I only like it as a friend, that type of thing. All right, now a comic book I know I probably am gonna drop is All New X-Men. This particular issue is, well, let's see here. The art is by Brian Michael Bendis. Or, I'm sorry, the story is written by Brian Michael Bendis. Penciling is by Stuart Immonen. The inking is Wade Von Badger. Wade Von Badger. And the art looks like, the coloring is Marty Garcia. Basically, this is just a fight comic. Basically, the original 5 X-Men and Wolverine finally catch up to Mystique and her group of bad guys, and they have a big fight between all of them and some random Hydra agents. And it's really nice. I really, 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 really enjoy the art here. The colors are spectacular. Just they just kind of strike the right mood and the right tone, and you just got some really deep, rich pencils and inks here, and I just really dig looking at it over and over. However, the problem I have with this comic on a whole is, okay, it's 14 issues before something has finally happened, and the problem is it's totally not what the comic book, or I shouldn't say what the comic book was, but it's not the end story reason that the original 5 are here in the present. Supposedly, the whole reason Hank McCoy brought them here is so that they could talk some sense into present day Scott Summers. And even though they've met present day Scott Summers at least twice, they still haven't had that confrontation of, hey Scott, what are you doing? Get your act together. You know what I mean? Uh, and supposedly that's the whole reason they're there. And yeah, I know, oh, they got to get adjusted to the present day, and oh, they need training and all that type of stuff. But it's like the whole in story reason that they're here, they don't seem to be doing anything about, and not a whole lot happens in this comic. The running gag used to be when Brian Michael Bendis was writing the Avengers. People used to say, "Oh, the Avengers don't do anything but eat Chinese food." Now the big joke is they just have conversations on the lawn somewhere. And one other thing that kind of bugs me is it's getting kind of tired to have the Avengers keep showing up for no good reason. I'm not hating on the Avengers. I'm just saying they show up in this comic and, for no real reason. They don't have a fight. They don't have a team up. They don't reconcile anything. It's just the Avengers show up and say, hey, what are you guys doing? And then the X-Men say, we ain't doing nothing. And then the Avengers go away. And again, I get it. AVX was a big hit, you got to keep milking it. But it's kind of tiresome. It's starting to get a little bit rote. So, yeah, like I said, as much as I like the art and everything else, I'm probably going to let this comic book go. And all right, and I guess that's it. I got to thank you very much for listening, and you all have a great day.